You know, the FBI does really crucial work to keep our nation safe, whether it's stopping criminal organizations or domestic terrorists, protects our nation's secrets, it prevents cyber attacks, keeps our children safe from harm, and a lot more. So this is really sober work with extremely high stakes. And I'm concerned that instead of focusing on the incredibly important mandate to keep Americans safe and to help impartially enforce our laws under your leadership, Director Patel, the FBI has been weaponized to go after Americans who disagree with the president. FBI resources have been diverted away from combating terrorism to focusing on immigration requests. And all of this, the diverted missions, the fewer resources, fewer agents, heightened politicization, is happening now under your watch, and it is, I believe, making Americans less safe. Now, let me just start with the budget. As Ranking Member Van Hollen noted earlier, this hearing is being held without the FBI's fiscal year 2025 spend plan and a full budget request for fiscal year 2026. The spend plan is required by law. It was due to Congress over a week ago. We have not yet seen it. That is really absurd. The FBI is our nation's leading law enforcement agency, a budget of $10.7 billion. It is critical that we understand how you are spending taxpayer dollars. So, Director Patel, when should we expect this FY25 spend plan for the FBI? Have you seen it? Have you reviewed it? When will we get it?
I'll get you an answer, ma'am. I don't have a timeline on that.
It was due last week by law.
I understand.
And your answer is you just understand. You're not going to follow the law?
My answer is that I am following the law, and I'm working with my interagency partners to do this and get you the budget that you are required to have.
And you have no timeline?
No.
Well, we also need a full budget request, not a single paragraph full of wild talking points that we saw with the skinny budget proposal. We're now having a budget hearing without a budget request. So, Director Patel, where is the FY 2026 budget request for the FBI?
It's being worked on, ma'am.
Have you reviewed it? Have you approved it?
Not yet.
When will we get it?
As soon as I can get it from my interagency partners and get it approved.
6 months from now?
I don't know, ma'am. I'm not going to make
Well,
up a
how do
timeline.
we as Congress do our budget and our work without that request and without the spend plan?
Well, ma'am, I'm here. I'm
don't
doing the
care.
best I can. I can't make up answers. I'm going to commit to you to work on getting you the information you need.
That is insufficient and deeply disturbing.
It was a budget hearing with no budget. The FBI's legally required spending plan was due to Congress over a week before the hearing. It had not arrived. The full fiscal year 2026 budget request had not arrived either. Senator Patty Murray showed up to a hearing about how the FBI would spend $10.5 billion of taxpayer money, and the person asking for that money had not given her the document she was legally entitled to see. She asked Patel directly, "When should we expect the spend plan?" He said he would get her an answer. He had no timeline. She said the law required it last week. "Is your answer that you are not going to follow the law?" He said he was following the law, and then Murray pivoted from the budget to something that had been building throughout the entire hearing, to the question of what the FBI under Patel's leadership has actually been doing with its resources. The January 6th cases, the Russia election meddling investigation, the polygraph tests, the judge in Wisconsin. And when Patel tried to answer with arrest statistics, Murray had a response that turned the whole exchange on its head. "If you want to talk about someone who was attacked by a weaponized bureau," Patel said, "you're looking at him." Murray said nothing to that. She didn't need to.
Well, the FBI is already down 1,900 employees since 2023 as a direct result of the Fiscal Responsibility Act. And under the Trump administration, FBI agents, analysts, linguists, cyber experts, and scientists are being asked to do a lot more in order to keep us safe. Director Patel, we all know that budget cuts will reduce the FBI's ability to counter threats of terrorism, and it will hinder its ability to keep pace with firearm background checks and shutter operations that combat violent crime, drugs, gangs, and transnational organized crime. Now, I understand that you told our House colleagues yesterday that you don't want to reduce the FBI workforce, meaning that you disagree with what President Trump is proposing?
No, I agree that we can sustain the mission with the proposed budget, and I agree with the budget. And as I said yesterday, I believe that what I said was I can do more with more. And I gave examples of what more we could do if we were given more.
Well, it's different than what you told the House yesterday. So What are you communicating to the President and the White House about what you need and again, we don't have a budget request from you, so I'm not sure what you're asking us for.
I'm not asking you for anything at this time.
You can operate without a budget?
I never said that.
Well, this is unprecedented. Okay, well, let me just go to another topic since you're not going to answer that. The FBI partners with state, local, and tribal law enforcement organizations. They provide critical intelligence and operational capabilities to combat violent crime and gangs and terrorist threats, fentanyl trafficking, challenges that our local communities really can't face alone. I'm going to give you an example. A few years ago, the Southeast Washington Safe Streets FBI Task Force worked with our Benton County and Franklin County Sheriff's Office, multiple Tri-Cities police departments, and the State Corrections Department to carry out one of the largest ever drug seizures in the region's history. Now we've got an administration already cutting more than $800 million in assistance in 2025 to local law enforcement organizations while proposing a $500 million cut for the FBI. Director Patel, can you explain to this committee how cutting resources for our local law enforcement partner agencies the FBI relies on to help your bureau keep safe? How do you expect the FBI and local law enforcement to do more without those significant?
You know, the FBI carries a heavy responsibility in safeguarding the country, whether dismantling criminal networks, intercepting domestic threats, shielding classified information, or stopping cyber intrusions before they strike. It also plays a vital role in protecting vulnerable communities, including children, from harm. The scope of this mission is immense, and the consequences of failure are severe. This is not routine work. It is serious, high pressure, and unforgiving. Yet there is growing concern that under your direction, Director Patel, the Bureau has drifted from that mission. Instead of prioritizing public safety and enforcing the law impartially, it appears resources are being redirected toward targeting Americans based on political disagreement with the president. That shift raises fundamental questions about priorities and purpose. We are seeing counterterrorism efforts lose ground while attention is diverted toward immigration-related demands. Resources are thinning, personnel are stretched, and divisions within the country are intensifying. All of this is unfolding during your tenure, and it is difficult to see how this trajectory improves national security. In fact, it suggests the opposite, that safety is being compromised. Let's begin with the issue of funding. As Senator Van Hollen pointed out earlier, this hearing is taking place without the FBI's financial plan for fiscal year 2025, nor do we have a comprehensive request for 2026. The spending plan is not optional. It is mandated by law. It was due over a week ago, and yet it has not been submitted. That is unacceptable. The FBI operates with a budget exceeding $10 billion. Congress has a responsibility to understand how that money is allocated. Director Patel, when can we expect to receive the 2025 spending plan? Have you reviewed it yourself? Has it been finalized? When will it be delivered? I will provide an update, ma'am. I do not have a specific time frame at this moment. It was legally required last week. I'm aware. So your position is simply acknowledgement without compliance? No, I am complying with the law while coordinating with relevant agencies to finalize the document. And still no timeline? Not at this time.
That is troubling. We are also missing a full budget proposal for 2026, not a vague outline, but a detailed request. Instead, we have a skeletal document filled with generalities. This leaves Congress conducting a budget hearing without an actual budget to review. Director Patel, where is the full 2026 request? It is currently in development. Have you evaluated it? Signed off on it? Not yet. When should we expect it? As soon as it is completed and approved through the proper channels. Weeks? Months? I cannot speculate. I will not provide a guess. Then how is Congress expected to do its job without these materials? I am here to assist as best I can. I cannot provide what I do not yet have. I will work to deliver the necessary information. That response is inadequate. This situation is deeply concerning. A budget hearing without a budget. A legally required document overdue by more than a week. No submission, no timeline, no clarity. Senator Patty Murray attended a hearing to evaluate how billions in taxpayer dollars would be spent. without being given the documents she is entitled to review. When she asked for a timeline, the answer was vague. When she cited the law, the response was acknowledgement without action. From there, the discussion shifted to how the Bureau is using its resources. Topics ranged from January 6 investigations to election interference cases, internal testing practices, and even judicial arrests. When Patel attempted to pivot to arrest figures, Murray redirected the focus. Numbers do not answer questions about conduct. Meanwhile, the FBI has already lost nearly 2,000 personnel since 2023 due to budget constraints. Despite that, agents and analysts are being asked to take on expanded responsibilities. Director Patel, reduced funding will inevitably weaken counterterrorism capabilities. It will slow background checks and disrupt operations targeting violent crime and organized networks. You indicated previously that you did not support workforce reductions, which seemed to contradict the administration's proposal. No, I believe the Bureau can fulfill its mission within the proposed budget, though additional resources would enhance our capabilities. That differs from your earlier remarks. So what exactly are you requesting from the administration? At this time, I am not making a formal request. Then how are we to interpret your position? I am committed to making the mission work. This lack of clarity is unprecedented. Let's move to another issue. The FBI relies heavily on partnerships with local and state law enforcement. These collaborations are essential in tackling crime, terrorism, and drug trafficking. Without them, many communities would be left vulnerable. Consider a past operation in Washington state where a joint task force coordinated across multiple agencies to execute one of the largest drug seizures in the region's history. That level of success depends on consistent funding and cooperation. Yet current proposals include major cuts, hundreds of millions from both federal and local law enforcement budgets. Director Patel, how can these partnerships function effectively under such reductions? How do you expect agencies to do more with significantly fewer resources? Context matters here. The day before this hearing, Patel testified in the House that the FBI required additional funding, about $1 billion more annually. He stated clearly that the proposed budget fell short. But the following day, his tone changed. In the Senate, he expressed support for the same budget, saying the Bureau would adapt and fulfill its mission regardless. That reversal happened in less than 24 hours. One day, the funding is insufficient. Next day, it is acceptable. The most general interpretation is that he clarified his stance. The less generous view is that external pressure influenced the shift. Senator Murray did not dwell on that contradiction. She returned to the missing documents. The law requires submission of a detailed spending plan. It is not optional. It is a binding obligation. And yet, it remains unfulfilled. When asked again, Patel reiterated that he was complying with the law, despite being overdue and unable to provide a timeline. That contradiction remained unresolved. The broader issue is not just delay, it is the absence of transparency. Then came questions about internal actions, specifically whether employees involved in January 6 investigations had been sidelined. Patel dismissed the claims and cited enforcement statistics instead. Arrest numbers, drug seizures, firearms recovered. Those achievements are real, but they do not address the question being asked. The issue was not performance, it was potential politicization. When pressed, Patel stated that no one had been removed without violating ethical standards, but he did not specify what those violations were. He did not explain why certain individuals were targeted. The same pattern emerged in other cases. A Russia-related analyst placed on leave. Patel claimed ignorance of the specifics. The head of the agency could not explain a decision made within his own organization. Then came his closing assertion that he himself had been a victim of a politicized FBI and was now correcting